before we get into this video, I was actually shocked at the difference between these two products. I didn't think there'd be such a difference between the two deep research modes, but yeah, it's crazy what you're about to see, the difference. Perplexity is an AI-powered search engine that kind of makes Google obsolete. But of course, Google have their own versions of these LLM tools, Gemini, and its deep research functionality. So there's a big question at the moment, which is better? Gemini or Perplexity, especially when it comes to deep research. So I'm going to use 3 different styles of prompts to test between the two. The first one is sort of more commercial one. Like, I find deep research is actually really great when you're making buying decisions and you're looking to buy a product. 2, we're going to use it for my own business to help me research and understand the placement and angle and pricing of one of my products. And 3, we're going to use it as if we're trying to go really deep on a subject and become an expert in something in the shortest amount of time. So starting off with Gemini and Perplexity, we're actually going to do this commercial search term first. And one of the things I love to do when I'm almost looking for shopping roundups and commercial sort of summaries of something that I'm really looking for is use the dictation model, because it allows me just to spit out and brain dump what I'm looking for. And this is a prompt we used with a friend the other day, legitimately, to find them a new baby stroller. I'm looking for a baby stroller that can lie flat, but also has car seat functionality. I live in a city, so I don't want it to be too heavy, and I want it to be easier to maneuver and take around, whether I'm going on the subway or down narrow streets and in and out of cars. Plus, my maximum budget is $500, £500. So we can edit that slightly, but basically that's a really easy way to prompt, and we can take that prompt and we can make sure we got deep research turned on. We can run that prompt there. I'll just copy it across and put it into Gemini as well, which you can dictate into Gemini as well for all this stuff. Now, it'll be interesting to see if they actually ask us questions off the back of this or not, because sometimes you'll get questions asked. I know ChatGPT asks us questions. So Gemini, for one, Perplexity just goes off and gets going. You can speed up the answer now and hit this notify me button, but Gemini actually gives a research plan for the topic. So it's going to identify baby strollers with the right features, analyze all the weight specifications, pricing, maneuverability, like all these 6 points. So I can either go and edit the plan, or I can say, yeah, start research. Again, you can try again without deep research, which is, I guess, kind of like the get answer now on Perplexity. And straight away, you'll see them both go off and create their plans and start reading, making searches, compiling all the information across however many sources. It's actually been about not that long, actually, a couple of minutes, if that, and Perplexity's already finished. And it's given the top 3 recommendations for a £500 budget here. And as you can see, it's given a quick breakdown of each, and actually it's created a nice chart of the top 5 lightest strollers, as well as some other noteworthy options as well, giving us a sum up of why they're perfect for city living. But actually, to be honest, that feels a bit light from what I usually get from a lot of deep research tools. Whereas Gemini, which we set off at the same time, is still researching and still working quite hard on its deep research. While we're waiting for this Gemini deep research to run, I've actually run some other prompts to compare as well. And interestingly, on all of them, Perplexity has finished pretty quickly, built charts and tables in there, which we'll show in a second. It's finished them all much quickly, but Google Gemini is much slower. So speed-wise, on this deep research, Perplexity wins by a mile. The real question is, which is actually going to deliver me a more in-depth summary of what I'm looking for? Okay, Google Gemini is finally finished, and I'm not going to lie, it took nearly half an hour for it to finish this first prompt. And you can see that although it was slow, I think the amount of detail and considerations it's gone into in terms of, like, I think when we were looking at the amount of sources it's gone through, you can see here it went through well over 100 sources that it actually read and didn't even use them. It even went into YouTube, Reddit, all these sorts of places. It went over to 100 sources versus Perplexity, which went to just 45 sources. So Gemini was much deeper in its research, and we're looking for deep research. And you can see the amount of information it's provided here. If I wanted to read something and become an expert in this particular area of, like, okay, I want to know everything about the top thing, the top pieces of information, Perplexity seems to give us an overview of, like, boom, 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 easily digestible, really quick. It's quick to run. It gives us a quick overview of everything we need with sources, gives us some diagrams and stuff. Whereas Google Gemini, yes, it takes longer, but I can actually read in depth about all of these different strollers, information from the manufacturer's website, the size of dimensions. You've got community feedback included in there, so I can read, 3 or 4 paragraphs on each of these and get a really good understanding. So it's much deeper than you're right, superficial Perplexity research that we got there. And it even gives us this really nice comparative table, so we can do a direct comparison, which is awesome. It's going to be longer to read, so you've got to balance those two things in this initial research that we've looked at. Now, moving on to the next one. The next prompt I ran was related to my business, and and I'll read the prompt here to you now. You're a pricing consultant. Your task is to create an optimal pricing strategy for my SEO 1 hour power hour consultancy call, which is something I want to start offering. Research the pricing strategies of competitors, analyze cost of production, perceived value, target customers' willingness to pay, and justify each factor. Also mention potential profit margins, etc. So that's the next prompt to run. Again, it ran about 42 sources and gave me like an overview. It immediately highlighted of like a potential price point for me there, built a chart of different, countries of like how much people might charge per hour and experience level as well, all quoted with sources, cost of like the breakdown of like my time, tools we might be using, research and prep and everything to give a total cost that a call might take. Like it reckons it's actually like the output of like my time and tools invested is going to run at $127 to do an hour's consultancy call, which is something I hadn't factored in. So that's interesting, how much it's going to cost me to run these calls, which I didn't really think about. But again, Gemini, and one of the cool things about Gemini, actually, like I've got an Android phone, so you can see here, it actually gives me a notification on my phone when the deep research has finished. So I can just set it off, go away, and it's going to ping my phone and I can have a look at it. And we can see this executive summary it's got is much more in depth. It's gone into way more sources as well, it looks like, to give me a really good understanding of what my service could look like, the value proposition for people, what competitors are charging, and really actually giving like in detail. I can get a really good indication from the market and different offerings rather than it just offering a set price. And what I really love is this table again is actually really in depth and actually breaks down. And in my table, it breaks down with sources about the different people and how much they're charging. A general consultant with 7+ years, which had senior positions, which is, aligned with me, of how much they're charging, $570 just for a no pre-research thing. And if you're Neil Patel, you're charging over $5,000 reportedly for calls. But it doesn't just give me my pricing, it actually breaks down what I should be delivering to customers and actually almost builds what I can offer for the service of like direct consulting times, the tools I might need, the other general business overheads, as long as actionable insights and clarity and everything that I can offer to people. And it goes on and on and on. Like this is actually like, I'm shocked at how much deeper Gemini goes. And again, in the third prompt we ran, it's shockingly more detailed as well. This was one that I wanted to be like, okay, I want to become an expert in a subject in the shortest amount of time possible. So I said, I'm a personal trainer who needs to become an expert in creatine supplementation, thing, blah, 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 extra. Then 82 sources. So Perplexity's done better on this, which was just like, I just want information. The other ones were a bit more actionable. Like I wanted some recommendations at the end. When we're getting to like, I just need you to pull information, Perplexity has seemingly done a better job. It's gone more in detail. It's given me, more data and paragraphs of text that I can read, but has still made it a nice balance and broken things up to be easily digestible as well. It's really hard to become an expert and learn something really in depth when you're just getting quick bullet points on something. So maybe Perplexity is better for reinforcing and checking things on the topic rather than actually going and doing your expert research, compared to, again, Gemini, which has knocked it out of the park again. Like some of the, I can see why people recommend this for your deep research. Look at this. This is on and on and on. And what I love as well about Gemini is this create button, which you don't have in Perplexity deep research, although you can sort of generate this stuff in labs. So we can create quizzes, audio overviews, so we can actually learn this stuff. We could create almost a podcast. We could create a study guide quiz. We could build an app. We could start coding our own app off this research. And we can even build infographics, for example. We can ask it to create an infographic off this information. And while it does that, that's really interesting that you could start coding an app, because say you did this research and you're thinking, well, I want to offer a creatine supplement guidance system for people. You could ask it to start building you this app that helps people regulate and deliver their creatine at the right times or something like that. I'm not an expert in it because I haven't actually read this, but you can see where I'm going with building a product off your deep research, and you can see it's now starting to actually code us our infographic. And I also want to point out I'm using the free version of Gemini on this, where I've got a pro plan on Perplexity, so you don't even have to start paying for Gemini to start accessing. And I've run 3 deep research prompts in a row here at the same time on the free version. You don't even have to be paying for this stuff to actually start using it. And boom, we've done the deep research, and now we've got, this isn't just like this is almost a web page. You could almost build a landing page off this stuff and say, like, I've got this product, here's all the research from deep research, build it into a landing page and infographic, and off you go. I'm sure it can make this stuff interactive. So, like, honestly, I'm a little bit stunned at how much better Gemini is at deep research than Perplexity. I wasn't expecting it to be this much difference, but the fact of the depth it goes into and the options at the other end to then take this information and use it to build other stuff is like crazy different.